Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's the Historical Gamer, and today I'm going to be playing part 3, or I'm sorry, way off on that. This is going to be part 5 of my Buzz Aldrin Space Program Manager Let's Play AAR, whatever you want to call it. In this I am going to be hopefully getting a successful launch of my first manned space flight. It's 1962, so we're a little bit more than a year behind the historical first American space flight. We're right about in line with America's historical first um, orbital flight, but we're not yet ready for an orbital flight. So America's first orbital flight took place on first suborbital flight took place on May 5th, 1961. It was a Redstone rocket which took American Alan Shepard into space for the first time that an American made it into space. And then the first orbital flight was the Freedom 7 by John Glenn in February of 1962, so we are a little bit behind that one as well, given the fact that it is second quarter, so I guess you could say we're right in line with that one. Now the problem we have is this flight is going to be over $4,000 to launch. That'll leave us with only $1,000, and even with our income coming around, we'll only have about $2,000 next turn, so we won't be able to launch a follow-on flight. I don't think there's any way I'll be able to do that anyway, but what I am going to do is try and free up a little bit of extra cash, because I believe, I've got quite a few flight controllers here. I've got, I think, 14 of them, or let's see, we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. We have 10. Oh, no, we've got 2 pages of them, so we've actually got 13 of them. We don't need 13. Now, I hate to get rid of some of my more qualified candidates, but frankly, they're more expensive. This is sadly probably the same reasoning you see used in a lot of boardrooms when companies are looking cuts. You find the most expensive person, and you just hope that the less expensive guy will be able to do the job just as well, even if he's not as good. That's kind of the route we're going down. The only other thing I'm looking at here is morale, because morale has been low a bit for some of these guys, so if I can get rid of some people who are unhappy and possibly leave, then it'll also lower the impact that'll have on me if someone does unexpectedly decide to leave. So the first person I'm going to get rid of is Josephina Meyer, 32 years old, $42 a turn, not cheap, and also not particularly happy at 48 morale, so we'll go ahead and dismiss this employee. Then what we've got up top here, the least happy, is George Mims. Now, I'm in a conundrum there, because Mims is also not terribly expensive. I'd rather get rid of someone who is expensive, and I think with that I'll go with Almeida Ingham instead, and we'll just hope that Mims sticks around. We need 10 flight controllers right now, so that leaves us with 11. I guess that means we could get rid of Mims, and we will go ahead and do that. So that'll leave us with 10 flight controllers, which is the minimum for a human space launch, but we really don't have enough money to go into launching multiple launches per turn anyway. So there you see it, knocks us down, or brings us up to about a positive 1100 per turn. One of the other things we're going to do is let go of some scientists. We have quite a few scientists here. We've actually got, 14 of them, and no one's researching anything right now because they haven't had money to put aside for new projects. That's hurt us a lot and will probably prevent us from reaching the moon on time. I find it highly unlikely, given we're not researching anything. I mentioned in one of my early videos, one of the most important things is getting off to a big and quick start in terms of research. We have not done that, or we did do that, but then we burned through all our money, and now we can't keep that up, and have not been researching anything for 3 or 4 turns now. So we need to reverse that trend. We need to go ahead and get more money so we can do that. And what I'm going to do so that we can do that is I'm going to lay off some of our scientists here. So we've got Camellia Tamil, good at crewed spacecraft, good at human-rated rockets, but $50 is pretty expensive. I'd like to maybe narrow our fleet down from 14 people down to maybe 8 scientists. That's enough for 2 full programs to be researched simultaneously, and then we can always hire back if we need to. So that's going to end up cutting 6 science positions. Anyone over 50 in terms of paycheck is certainly going to be going, especially considering we're not even researching EVA suits, I don't think, and that's what Kina Warby's specialty is, as well as being $51 a turn. So we cut that, brings us down to 12. We've got 4 more we need to get rid of. We'll go ahead and get rid of Felice McLeod. Really good morale, though. I hate firing someone who's so happy. But everyone's got pretty good morale, and no one else is even close in terms of salary. So we'll go ahead and get rid of them. We still have 3 more people we need to get rid of. Trying to see, I don't see anyone else making over 40. We've got 2 people here making almost 50, so we'll get rid of Luciana Inouye, if that's how you pronounce the name. I'm sure it's not. And then we'll go ahead and get rid of Harland Kirkland, both upper 40s in terms of their annual paychecks. So we're down to having 9 scientists, which means we need to get rid of 1 more. Most of our scientists are pretty inexpensive, and I guess the most expensive is Mina Burrows at this point at $42. Very well balanced though, so I think I'm going to go with, no actually, Joseph Saccard is a little bit better, so I'll go and get rid of Mina. Unfortunately, we had to let go of a lot of very happy, highly qualified people, but that gets us from having about $900 with all those cuts positive per turn to $1,300, almost $1,400 per turn. Still won't have enough to launch another Mercury flight, but instead of having to wait 3 turns or 4 turns for every Mercury flight, we should only have to wait maybe 2 turns per Mercury flight. I'd let go of one of my astronauts as well, but that doesn't seem wise. If something happens on this flight, I don't want to be out an astronaut for 4 seasons while we retrain someone. So in addition to that, what other programs do we have? All we have open is Program Mercury, and I guess we could manage a rocket program. We could, I don't know if cutting the rocket program saves any money per turn. I'm not sure, but I don't think we're launching anything with a Juno rocket anytime soon. So I guess we'll go ahead and do that. Does not free up any money apparently, so that was a waste. But anyway, that is 1 more program that we can go ahead and close. And let's go ahead and get our Mercury flight ready. As I said, it's going to be our first human space launch, and it's going to be with the Mercury. It's going to be a suborbital flight with a human in it. We'll go ahead and schedule that mission, assemble it now, start the assembly process, and assign our people. We only have 10 people left, so you know, it's going to be all hands on deck, and hopefully I've still got some qualified people. We had a lot of early missions, so a lot of guys have experience. Pretty much everyone looks like they're above, at least for the first several people I assigned. Most people were above 70. Only person down is the network person. They're down in the 40s. So that's definitely not a good thing. I'd like Mines to be the first person into space, so I'm going to replace Capcom with Corny Cover, and we'll go ahead and make Mines our first astronaut in space, hopefully. So one thing I just noticed here, the picture of the rocket is not accurate. This is showing a Mercury Redstone, which was the historical rocket used in the first American manned space flight with Alan Shepard, as I said, Mercury, or Freedom 7, launched on May 5th, 1961. We're using an Atlas rocket instead. I didn't research the Redstone just for trying to be more efficient, only researching 1 rocket. The first 2 launches of the Mercury program were both manned with Redstone rockets. It was determined that rocket would not be powerful enough to get a man into orbit, so they switched to the Atlas rocket, which had tons of problems, but was one of the few rockets they had at the time that was suitable to get a man into orbit, so they basically switched it over to that, and that's what we're using right from the get-go. So at this point, we're down to $800. I don't think that's enough money to open up any research projects. I will go ahead and check. Trying to see even what we've already done. We've already done the biosatellite, so we don't need to do that. I don't even know. I wish, is there a screen we can see what we've successfully done? Doesn't look like it. So Earth orbiting research satellites. I don't know if we've done orbiting, or this one. I'm pretty certain we haven't. But we might have already researched it. No, we have not. We have not initially researched it yet. We were going to, I think, but we didn't have money, and we don't have enough money as it is now. So we're just going to go ahead and skip to the end of the turn, and we'll watch. Yeah, I know I don't have any. I have scientists doing nothing. So we'll go ahead and watch the suborbital flight here, the first manned space flight. Hopefully it's a success. We'll find out here shortly. We're going to watch from mission control, and we're going to listen to the chatter. It's one of my favorite things, is that historical audio that you hear in these missions. So we'll go ahead and go from there.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition.
Roger, understand go for at least 7 orbits. Roger, capsule turning around, and I can see the booster during turnaround just a couple of hundred yards behind me. That's beautiful.
That's the beauty of your platform.
Sun is coming in the weather now.
Roger, we're staying down for your decal.
Roger.
Okay, so there's a problem here during the retrofire jettison. We've got a 60% chance of fixing it. And we solved it. Excellent. So I was waiting for that first glitch. We had a lot of problems with the X-15 program. We had a pretty uneventful launch of our unmanned Mercury program, and now we have a small problem that gets fixed here on the retrofire jettison. Hopefully that's our only glitch of this particular mission, but we'll find out again here shortly. Alright, so we have made it into space. First successful mission of a human into space. Not an orbital mission like the Russians, which I believe got into orbit on their first manned mission, but a suborbital flight. So basically the same thing as a man riding a ballistic missile. That's essentially what it was. You go up, you come right back down, you don't orbit the Earth, but still a man in space nonetheless. And there you can see employee terminations. Yes, we fired a lot of people. Okay. So, after that successful mission, now we have $2,000 right now. Not enough to launch another Mercury shot, unfortunately. Not even close to enough to launch another Mercury shot. What that means we should do, I would skip ahead and go to an orbital flight, which we don't have enough money for either. But the problem with that is if you do a mission ahead, like if you do a manned mission and you go ahead of where you've done unmanned. So for example, if we launch a orbital flight without doing an uncrewed orbital flight, then you suffer a substantial penalty for basically going too fast or trying to do something you haven't tested yet, and you could dramatically increase the likelihood of the mission failing. And I don't want to do that. At the same time, I don't have the money to go ahead and launch another Mercury flight. I won't have it for 2 more turns. That's when the next budget review is up, so I don't want to waste that time. At this point in time, we're near the max prestige. We're at 9,900. The max is 10. So we've basically got about as close as you can get to that maximum possible budget coming up if we don't screw anything up and fail a mission. So I think right now what I'm going to do is just maybe try and open a science program or two so we can start getting some research going again and hopefully get things to the point where we can start doing more missions. We don't have enough money for that research program. I don't know. Let's see here. Orbital sun probes. I don't think we've done this one yet. The weight is 64 kilograms. Do we have any rockets capable of carrying that? We could open the sun probe. I'm trying to think if we've researched any rockets that actually have the ability to carry 64 kilograms. The Juno 2 doesn't. Darn it, I was hoping it could, but it doesn't. The Thor Able doesn't either. Well, this is lame. We don't have anything that can take it there. Trying to see here. Doesn't look like anything does unless we start getting to the really, really expensive rockets, which we don't have enough money for anyway. Shoot. I thought the Thor Able is what carried that one. I guess we could go with the Atlas Agena. We don't have enough money, but the initial reliability is pretty strong because we've already got the main Atlas part of the rocket. I'm not sure what the Agena part is. I don't know if that's boosters or just more. I'll have to look that up. So I guess we don't have enough money for this either. But since the Atlas Agena starts out at such a high reliability, I think it might make sense to open up a Sun Probe one, and then we can just use that rocket. We'll research it, and we'll be ahead of the game, and we'll go ahead and use that rocket. So we'll go ahead and get some R&D components and get some guys working on this to get this ready for launch once we finally have a rocket that can carry it. Again, we don't have any money to do anything else, so we're just going to go ahead and skip ahead to the next turn, even though we have some scientists doing nothing. And we're going to skip ahead again another turn because, again, we don't have any money to do anything else. So, new turn now. We've got a new budget. It's the first quarter of 1963. We've got a new budget of 14,000 total. It gives us a $10,000 profit per turn, which means we finally have money to go ahead and spend on opening new programs and launching rockets. That's more than enough for 2 launches per turn of the Atlas, which we're not going to be doing. But we are going to go ahead and open up a rocket program. We're going to open up the Atlas Agena rocket program. It has the ability to carry quite a bit of stuff into lunar orbit even. We can insert a 300 kilogram object into lunar orbit, 850 kilograms into low Earth orbit, or 4,500 to suborbit. That's a pretty strong payload. It's not on the level of the Saturn 1B, which is substantially higher, or even the Saturn 1. But it is going to be able to carry most of our probes. I don't think the biosatellite will, or the, the micrometeorite one, I don't think that one will be able to be carried by it. But most other things, and it's what they used as the test platform for the docking of the Titan program. So, yeah, let's go ahead and open that program up and go back here, manage our rocket programs, and get some people working on this thing, which is, again, already pretty reliable, so that's an encouraging factor to take into consideration. And while we're doing that, we'll also go ahead and schedule our next Mercury flight. Now this Mercury flight is going to be uncrewed, and it's going to be an orbital flight. So we're going to get our test in with no one in the rocket. We're going to go ahead and launch it up, and hopefully have a success, and then do a manned orbital flight the following turn. So we'll get everyone assigned here. Again, we're just going based on what the best recommendation is, and in this case, since we don't have an astronaut going up, we'll have Rodrigo Mines be the Capcom, because he's better than the other guy, and we'll go ahead and confirm that, launch it, and we've still got a little bit of money left over, but yeah, we'll go ahead and end this turn, and we should be good to go. So you can see already quite a ways away, already at 80% reliability on the Sun probe, almost 70% on the Atlas Agena. And then we'll go with our unmanned orbital flight. Doesn't give you much prestige, but it does give you valuable know-how and experience before you want to send a man up into orbit.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition.
Roger, understand go for at least 7 orbits.
As you can imagine, it can get a little bit repetitive, playing the same missions over and over again and watching the mission unfold on your screen, you do have the ability to skip that. I just like doing firsts of any particular category and watching them, because a lot of times events will come up and I don't want to click it and see it failed and just be surprised by it. So that's kind of why I go that route. So there is a problem during splashdown, and it's solved. Okay, good. So the problem during splashdown is solved, and it was a successful unmanned orbital flight. So we've got the experience we need, we've got the money we need, we should be good to go ahead and launch a man into orbit this next turn. Again, you see some upgrades to the Mercury capsule and the Atlas capsule, or the Atlas rocket, so that's encouraging. And we get a budget increase as well by 13%, so we've got even more money to play with, which is excellent. So we're just going to jump right in and do another one-man crewed ballistic capsule. We'll go ahead and do a orbital flight with a human person. Another Atlas booster launch. We'll schedule that mission right now. We'll pay for it right now. We'll assign our people right now. And again, we're just going to go with the best available, with the exception of Capcom. We're going to go with Kornikover because, well, I want my best possible astronaut in the saddle. This is a little bit ahistorical, as astronauts historically did not fly mission after mission after mission. You know, there were 7 Mercury flights, or actually 6 Mercury flights with humans in it, and each one had a different pilot. Gemini was a little bit different. I think they had like 12 or 13 Gemini missions, and there were a couple of repeats. I think, was it... I'm trying to think who was a repeat astronaut. I believe, who was the guy in Apollo 13? Jim Lovell did 2 Gemini flights. He didn't do any Mercuries, but he flew twice in Gemini, and I know for a fact he flew twice in Apollo, so that changed a little bit. But even with Apollo, there were, what, 11 crewed Apollo flights, and he was one of the few who flew multiple. There were a couple toward the tail end, but still not that common to be sent up tons of times. But we're ready there. I could spend more money on some other programs, but honestly, rather than rehiring everyone and ramping the budget up right now, I'm just going to stockpile a little bit more money, so if we need it for future missions when we're gangbusters researching, we're ready for that. Wonder if we can... we need to expand this facility before we go to the moon, but not quite yet. I am going to increase the size of our flight control center, though, because I feel we will need more people than we currently have. I would say the same thing for our astronauts, because when we get into Gemini and we need more than 1 astronaut flying in missions, we're going to need a larger astronaut pool. So we'll spend some money there. They only are going to impact our budget by about 800 per turn, so that shouldn't be too substantial. And we'll go ahead and skip to the end. And we're going to watch the flight of the first man in space as well. I don't want a catastrophe without being aware of it. I don't want to just click a button and find out that my guy died. So we'll go ahead and watch this one more time here.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition.
Roger, understand go for at least 7 orbits. Roger, capsule turning around, and I could see the booster during turnaround just a couple of 100 yards behind me. It was beautiful.
What an afterburner. That's the beauty of your clock going so. Sun is coming in the weather now.
I find myself almost biting my fingernails each one of those periods that shows up here toward the top of the screen. When you get to, I think it's, what is it, the 5 there, then it'll say success at the end. But I find myself waiting each time, just stressing over whether I'm getting a pop-up about a problem. So far we've had 2 problems during descent and splashdown on each of the last 2 Mercury flights. Nothing that ended up being a catastrophe, but that's our first successful landing without any problem, a mission with no problems whatsoever, and a ton of prestige that we get there for the successful mission, so that's good. first successful orbital flight. Excellent. So, that historically happened in... Where am I looking? Successfully happened on February of 1962, John Glenn. And we are about a year behind that. But the last Mercury flight actually took place in May of '63. We're only going to be about a quarter behind that if we do that launch right now, which I'm thinking, why not? We've got the money, we're behind. We need to jump up to the next level here, so why not go ahead and do it? Oh, and yeah, so the next one's just the orbital flight duration level 1. So basically staying in space a little bit longer. This is going to be modeled after the Mercury Atlas 9, or Mercury 9 flight. It was called Faith 7. It had, I believe, Jordo Cooper was the pilot, and it was the first time a man spent more than 24 hours in space. I believe it was the first time a man slept in space, and in this case, this is based on that. Extended mission during orbital flight in order to analyze the effect of microgravity in the human body for no less than 24 hours and no more than 36. So basically 2 days in space. We'll go ahead and assign our people here. Our Capcom there is gaining some experience, so that's good to see. Actually, a lot of our guys are gaining experience here, so these successful missions are having very positive effects on morale in general, and also improving our own crew members' experience and talents. So that's good to see. It's our last Mercury flight, though, so I am a little bit worried in that we don't have a rocket ready for the Titan program for the next follow-on, the two-person Gemini program, which is the follow-on to the Apollo program. We don't have anyone researching the rocket for that. We don't have any scientists really available for that. Let's see here. I mean, the maximum reliability of the Agena is, what, 90%? We're kind of getting close, but we've got some scientists assigned who really aren't very good with rockets either. Let's keep it there. Let's go ahead and open a new rocket program. We need to open it at the very least. So we can open the Titan II booster, human-rated rocket. It's $6,000, so it's not cheap, but it is the next step in manned space travel, which we definitely want to continue. We'll go ahead and get some guys assigned here. This guy's actually pretty darn good at human-rated rockets. Only 47. These guys are not very... I guess what we will have to do is get one more program open as well for the Gemini capsule program, so that we've got a two-person crew that's at least being researched. We can always scale up the researching. Okay, we don't have enough money for that. It costs $11,000. Well, we can always scale up the researching crews. So I guess for the moment, I'll just assign these guys to whatever. This guy's better where regular rockets is him, and human-rated rockets this guy's better at. So we'll split the two up and get those programs continuing on here, and then we'll open up the Gemini program next turn when we've got the capital to do so. The Gemini capsule program, that is. Meanwhile, continuing to expand mission control and our astronaut pad, and $11,000 per turn is definitely nice. As it stands right now, the maximum amount of prestige that we can get to within the next 4 years is 20,000. That's what we need to get the maximum budget. Right now we're almost there, and with another successful flight I believe we will be there, or if not very close, with 3 full years to go. But again, the last Mercury flight was in May of 1963. We are currently in Q3, so somewhere between July and November. Or no, wow, I can't do math. Somewhere between July and September, currently in Q3. So we're just a couple of months behind, assuming this mission is successful, which I should not make any assumptions. I don't want my people to die. So here comes the last Mercury flight, the first attempt to put someone into space for more than a day. And again, because it's a manned flight, I'm going to watch the whole thing.
Go. ECS, go. Sequence.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fire.
It's weird that they're launching at night. It looks like it's night. I think the first space flight at night was actually Apollo 17. The last of the Apollo programs was launched at night. I don't think any other space programs are launched at night. Maybe one of the Mercuries? I could be wrong there. I'll take a look here after this mission. The retrofire one is so slow. Retro jettison's pretty quick. Each one of these different paths has a different length that you have to wait to find out if it was successful as well. Success. Alright. So, a 2500 prestige boost and another successful mission. Well, this has been a video full of successful missions, which is pretty awesome. Mercury program is complete successfully, and yeah, again, another successful outcome. So here we are in quarter 4 of 1963, 18,000 prestige, maximum gold is 20,000, but we've got 3 years and a quarter left, and we've got a pretty healthy budget. We need to hire some more scientists, that's definitely the case. So I'll go ahead, we've got the spare money, we've got 10,000 coming in per turn. That'll drop down a bit, but I'm going to hire 4 scientists here. We're looking to do human-rated rockets and crewed spacecraft. So that's what I'm going to look for here, because we're going to be doing the Gemini program. And yeah. I mean, I will try and save money where I can. These guys are surprisingly good at the particular fields that I'm looking at, and they're also cheap. Those 2 guys. I'd like to try and have everyone be above 60. That's probably naive. This guy's a little more expensive, but good at what I want him to be good at. And so is this guy, more expensive than I want. I might already have some scientists who are good in these fields as well, but I guess I'd rather hire 2 cheap, 2 inexpensive guys that kind of balance each other out. Only 160, so they'll go through basic training. They'll be ready in 2 days. My rocket programs are coming along okay here. We've got the Atlas Agena, and we've got the Titan II. We're going to fill those programs out shortly. We'll go ahead and close the Mercury program because I believe, I could be wrong, I'm going to double check, I believe we've done all the flights. Yep, we've done all the flights for the Mercury program, so we'll go ahead and close that down. That'll save us a little bit of money every turn because you do pay upkeep costs for your different programs that are open. And there is no reason to have the Mercury program up because we're not going to fly any more Mercury flights. And we'll go ahead and open the Gemini program here. So we're up to 2 crewed space capsules, or program, 2-person space capsule program. It is $11,000 to start there, a lot of money. We've got 19,000 in the bank there. You can see it was about 800 per turn to keep it going. We don't have any scientists attached to researching for it though, so we need to adjust that here. We're going to go ahead and who is it this guy? I want to say it was him. So we're going to go ahead and get our first scientist researching the Gemini space capsule. He's pretty darn good at it, and it does start already at 63% reliable. So again, I believe these other missions are having a positive impact on it. We also are going to need to research EVA suits and the Agena target vehicle. We're not quite to that level. Those are later Gemini missions as well. But they, I guess, come as part of the Gemini program, so that's interesting. I haven't seen that before. That's adding a new layer of complexity, if you will. The Sun probe's almost done researching it. I'll probably keep researching it for 1 or 2 more turns, and then we'll leave that as is. But we're not going to launch a mission here in quarter 4 of 63. We're pretty close to being on target with historical time frame, although we need to get the Gemini program up and running quick in order to keep pace, because it was at this point with Gemini that NASA really picked up the pace and started launching pretty much manned missions every couple of months. And straight through to 69 when they got to the moon. So yeah, there's a frantic tempo that's going to pick up. We've got the capital to do it right now, and we just have to hopefully hope that things fall right. The Mercury program in this video fell perfectly almost, and everything came along just right. We are going to need to hire some more astronauts as well. We'll get around to that in a turn or two. I don't want to waste money on guys to pay them before we're ready for them. So we'll give it a couple of turns. But anyway, I appreciate you tuning in. This one's been a little bit longer, but if you did enjoy it, please drop a like, a comment, subscribe, and until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching, and I'll just skip through here, saying thank you for watching, and we are now quarter 1 of 64, which we will pick up on next time. See you later, guys.